Today's creative world is film.
The one moment I remember though was at the end of the shoot. I was in the hallway. I walked out of my green room, and he just comes up to me. He taps me in the shoulder. He said, "Next generation," and he kept walking down. Oh. And then I looked down like this.
Right.
From hearing that.
What did y'all learn through martial arts?
I think martial arts teaches us a lot of, virtues and ethics.
Mm-hmm.
You could take the practice of martial arts discipline. Like, what does kung fu mean, right? Kung fu, literal translation means hard work. Developed
Right.
over time.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing comes overnight.
Right.
So if you really understand that concept and you have the patience and the discipline to pursue something, you can always take that concept that you put on the training grounds and apply it to anything
Yeah, it can be applied to anything like cooking, filmmaking, anything, you know.
Right.
Just all the morals and the virtues and the ethics to apply to.
Yes, I believe that everybody needs Kung Fu. Not everybody needs to practice martial arts, but everyone should practice Kung Fu because whatever it is, whatever you're interested in, you work towards it. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You care about it, and you find out that nothing is impossible.
Right. So through movies, and you're not professional martial artists, and then what would you like to convey to the audience through whatever the media, maybe film and TV, through martial arts?
We want to tell the martial arts story, like the journey. If we were to make a film, it would be about the journey of a martial artist coming from zero to hero. The most classic martial arts films are from normal people who aspire to be something greater, and they go through the ranks, the training grounds, and whether it be through conflict or like all the Shaolin movies, right? All going into the Shaolin temple and the whole movie being a documentary about the training and then coming out on the other side, enlightened, and then solving their problems. I think I want to tell that martial arts story, and I think for us there are levels to it.
Yeah. So the message we'd like to convey to people when they see a movie like this is that there's a hero inside all of us.
Right.
Life may make us feel like zeros, but with the right hard work, the right dedication, the right practice, they can amount to something.
Gotcha.
And that's what we want people to take away from the stories that we tell.
Amazing, thank you. So, Andy, what inspires you to kind of form the group, Martial Club, with Brian and Daniel?
It was very organic, actually. So Daniel was a part of the UC Irvine's martial arts demo team. He was you were the captain, or the coordinator.
Yes.
He was the coordinator, and they would go train at this gym that we were training at. We were a part of two separate, we didn't really know each other at the time. But one thing we all had in common was that we all loved like martial arts, like kung fu. Everyone else in our circles were into acrobatics. It was an acrobatics gym, so everyone would go there and learn flips. But we actually had like a common interest
in martial arts.
And so that's where we organically just became friends, and we would geek out over kung fu films. I never met anyone else I was able to like geek out over like the most underrated kung fu films, and like he would know everything about it, and we would just talk about it, and we would train together. He would teach me stuff, and organically formed this group. And our biggest inspirations were martial arts films, and since we learned mainly from martial arts films, naturally we decided to pick up a camera one day, and we decided to shoot fun YouTube videos. Didn't think much of it. It was just like, oh yeah, let's shoot a little fight scene.
We do this cool fight scene. I can hold the camera.
Yeah.
You can hold
We would switch out one of the cameras. We would all learn how to edit. We would add some jokes here and there.
Right.
Add our own type of humor, our own flavor.
Right.
Put them up on YouTube. Didn't think much of it in the beginning until over time we started to gain some traction. People started to see the passion.
Right.
What we were doing. And
start having an audience for it.
Yeah,
Right.
We actually felt like we realized we had a knack for it. So we just kept doing it. And then, over time we started to gain a following, and we were just like, hey, and it was gradual. It wasn't it wasn't like, oh, I should just drop out of college, or you should just quit your job and go do this. It was like, over time, it took some time to believe like we could actually go full force and do something greater.
Wow, then over the course of like in creating the history as a team, it's a cliche question, but as a martial club, which famous people or celebrities that you all met and worked with are most impactful, and why?
Truth is, everybody we've met has played a part in who we are today, especially these two. The way they learn, anything can inspire them.
Right.
If interacting with you today, they see everything you do well, and whether they know it or not, they're going to incorporate it in how they carry themselves from now on. And I think that's kind of what makes Martial Club what it is. We're inspired before anything else. So if Bruce Lee does a punch, you know, we will punch like Bruce Lee because he did it a certain way that impacted them. And you know what? I think that's my answer, Bruce Lee. Because I told you when I was a child, the question, I didn't know how to form it because I was just a child, but it's how do I be something more than I am? And I saw Bruce Lee and he was truly transcendent as a man. And that's exactly what I wanted to be.
Gotcha.
I can never be Bruce Lee, but because I saw Bruce Lee do what he did, I can be like Bruce Lee in that I will use martial arts to become a better version of myself.
I would say Jackie.
Jackie, right?
Jackie. And that's not only because he's a martial artist, he's a filmmaker as well. He actually brands himself pretty well that he's just beyond a martial artist. He can get behind a camera, pick it up, and he'll talk about editing techniques and just he's in the editing room. And I think as Martial Club, we're as a group being a one-stop shop martial arts filmmaking group. We go beyond just doing the physical martial arts aspect or the comedy in front of the camera. We're also behind the camera. And so a lot of my inspiration for behind the camera, how to shoot, how to edit, how to compose a fight scene is inspired by Jackie.
Wow.
And how to tell a story through action, inspired by Jackie. And not only does he have his own brand, I feel like he applies the martial arts spirit into behind the camera as well. So Jackie is the type that's like, that take's not good enough, we keep going, we keep going. 1,000 takes
to get it.
until it's perfect. 1,000 takes until camera pulls back, none of that Hollywood, you know, the shaky camera.
You get a thumbnail here and there.
Yeah, you give it to an editor, and they don't know what they're looking at, and they'll just cut it up. No, Jackie would be like, pull the camera back, we got to do this 1,000 times until we get it right. And,
wow.
And that's like, what is that? That's Kung Fu. That's the martial arts.
Right.
That's the reps you put onto the training ground. And I remember there was one specific video. There was one shot that I was like, it was like a physically impossible take. I forgot what it was. I think it was like kicking a sword or something. Anyways, but it was a physically impossible take, and I settled for it's good enough. It works. So let's just use it and cut it and edit. And then we put it up on YouTube, and that video haunts me for the rest of my life because that one shot. You can ask these guys. I get very meticulous with martial arts and with like filmmaking. So that one shot, that one little mistake, it was one frame, and it bothered me for the rest of my life. So so I learned from there that like we're just gonna keep doing it until it's perfect, and that's a Jackie mentality.
I see. What about you, Brian?
I would say aside from the obvious answers of like, you know, like Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, Donnie, and all the heroes, as of recent actually, it's been Michelle Yeoh. Only because not only is she an amazing actress and being the queen of all Hong Kong action, you know, cinema, she's a genuine human being. And then you know, to think someone being a star that long, it would just straight up like get to their head, and I would imagine anyone at her status would be like, I'm not talking. No, I'm not talking. No.
Right.
But she's a sincere and genuine human being, and that was more inspiring than anything, you know, just seeing that.
Wow. She definitely has a very motherly energy towards us.
Yeah, and also elegance and sophistication. She carries herself with so much poise, and yet she can still talk to you like you're.
Yeah,
wow.
Which is why that's.
Well, like a welcoming atmosphere she's
yeah,
creating.
Of course. Yeah.
Awesome. So, is there any, as a team or as an individual, is there any future project that you can share with us?
We always wanted to make a martial club feature film, a passion project that tells the martial arts story I was talking about.
Right.
Yeah. And we want to always, that's been our mission since day one, was to promote the virtues and ethics of martial arts and through film. Same way how the veterans Michelle Yeoh, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee has inspired us, we want to do the same. And I think the only way we can do that and tell our full, true story unfiltered is through our Martial Club passion project feature film. So that's the big goal. But of course, expect to see us in TV shows and anything else that.
Right. So you've been successful, and then to the younger generation, particularly watching right now, do you have any advice or messages to those younger people, generation?
Basically start with the end in mind. Don't
Uh-huh.
plan to fail. Plan to succeed. You have to believe you can succeed. I would say when it comes to success, the key ingredient is passion. If you don't believe in what you're doing, if you don't like what you're doing, then it's always going to put a limiter on the effort that you put in. So passion needs to fuel you. You move different when you're passionate about something. So when you do things, whether it's martial arts or not, look for things that feed your imagination. Look for things that inspire you. That breeds passion, and that will change everything you do. And I think that changes whether it's possible or not.
Fantastic. What about you, Andy?
There's a lot of hardships.
Right.
Of course, like what Dima says, like Daniel says, end goal in mind, passion is going to be the fuel. Just know that there is going to be a lot of bumps in the road, a lot
Right.
of obstacles. It's hardships. We did years and years of just doing YouTube videos. Sometimes we would pour literal blood, sweat, and tears into a short that we really believed in. We put it out, and the views do worse than a video we didn't really care about.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Just
just
nothing. And
Yeah.
it does get discouraging.
it gets discouraging, and like the industry can be nasty sometimes.
Right.
We've had our fair share of getting pushed down, and it gets discouraging, but you have to believe in yourself enough and just know that like if you're persistent and you really believe in your dream, there's no way you can't succeed. You just gotta just go at it 110%.
Something for the future audience. All right, kids, now listen up, okay? There's only plan A, all right? You either do plan A or you go home. Never a plan B. Well, whatever you do, you gotta go 110, 115% even. Take it with you to the grave, you know? And there's no plan B, remember. Only plan A, you go hard. You carry that warrior spirit all the way to the end. That's that, yeah.
So, you're very international. So, what do you think is necessary to succeed internationally?
You know, I'll say this. I think if you had to boil it down, you need two things. You need to know where the audience is coming from and where you're going. Because internationally already implies you're coming from two different places. And in order to inspire them to want to go somewhere, you have to be going somewhere.
Right.
But it's not going to make sense if you have no understanding or idea of who you're talking to. So knowing where they come from and knowing what they might think, what they might see, what they might feel, it'll help you to speak to them better. And if you have somewhere where you're going, it gives them something valuable to be gained from listening to you.
Last question. The title of the show is Creative World. What does the word creative mean to you? What is your own interpretation for the word creative? Start with Ryan.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Oh my gosh.
a
lot going on
like
there.
A lot, but it literally just says individuality and self-expression. And it's just my name, Brian Wolf, with the wolf here. But honestly, this can't explain creativity to me. It can only be shown. Let me show you something, okay? Anyone can throw a punch, normal punch.
Right.
This is a creative punch. Oh, you gotta add your heart
Right.
and your soul.
Right.
Everything that you struggled with, everything in your life, all your hardships, everything. Put it all in one, and that's creative to me.
Awesome. Really strong message. Thank you. So, Andy.
For me, and excuse my poor calligraphy, but martial arts to the death of me.
Oh.
For me, because if you're talking creative, for me, everything is martial arts. My outlet is gonna always be martial arts. That's my passion, and that's what I'm gonna do. Even my storytelling, filmmaking, it's gonna be through martial arts. And what martial arts includes what? Individuality, self-expression, right? Like Bruce Lee had always said, the highest level of martial arts is honestly expressing oneself. So, and like Brian said, you don't just throw a punch just to throw a punch. You don't use your hand, you put your heart into it. And martial arts is just my overall outlet of creativity.
Right.
And
Awesome.
you can express it through the body or through the camera or through the lens. And so yeah, it's just martial arts are death to me, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm taking me to the grave. Like Brian said.
Right? Exactly. And Daniel.
For me, also forgive my calligraphy, but it's water.
Water.
So Bruce Lee always said, be water, my friend. Because you can create whatever you want, but what happens when the circumstances don't go your way? What happens when your situation doesn't agree with you? Then you have to adapt. Water is the most adaptable substance in the world. It fits into any container. It molds itself to any shape. It can take so many different forms. It can be ice, it can be hard, it can be soft as liquid, it can be transcendent as vapor. And I believe that it has so many uses and it creates life. So what can be more creative than water?
Wow, that's really deep. Thank you very much. Today's guests were Brian Lee, Andy Lee, and Daniel Ma. Thank you guys. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Woo!
This episode will be available on YouTube this coming Saturday. For details, please check out our Facebook page. Next, more exciting materials to show you all. Wait, there's part 2. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.